on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You like my oxygen. Make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up. Break you in and break you out. In the end, we're gonna make.
All right, we are back with another episode of All Time High. We are fortunate enough to be joined by Daniel Payne, but also with Deanna today. It looks like the show has gone to the dogs. Is that Cooper in the background there? I don't know if we can.
Oh, look, let me go.
As you move, there you can see some eyes.
He's hiding.
My camera follows me, so.
For sure. Well, Daniel, thank you for joining us. We're having a day dedicated to all the good guys in crypto. There's a lot of villains out there. We happened to meet at what I would otherwise say would be a good guy event in Austin, Texas. John Deaton was speaking, and then you came in and did kind of a pre-intro to the intro of the intro. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Like,
everybody wanted some time with the mic, so I took what I could get.
and so you did a great job, impressive enough for me to come up and say, hey, all these things are going on. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? You've got some great hot sports opinions, as I like to say, about the space and what's going to help it grow. And so that's why we're glad that you're here to join us today. Care to share with us a little bit? You're in Switzerland. Deanna's in Vegas. I mean,
at home, boo.
I got to get out more, y'all.
Yeah.
Daniel, what are you doing over there, man? What's going on in the world of blockchain in foreign countries? I mean, come on.
Well, as we all know, the regulatory uncertainty in the U.S. has pushed a lot of companies offshore. And if they haven't moved entirely offshore, they are at least exploring their options out of the U.S. and deciding how to mitigate their exposure to the U.S. and the legal risk there, because there's a lot of crypto-friendly countries in the world, and Switzerland happens to be one of them. Yeah. So I'm the president of a crypto law firm called Blockade, and some of the clients that I work with are trying to decentralize, as the SEC has encouraged them to.
Hold on a second there, not to be confused with Blockade Labs, Deanna.
Yeah, that's me.
I hope there's no confusion. We might have to have a cage match to settle this the old-fashioned way.
Hey, listen, I'm scrappy.
That's how they do it in Vegas, right?
Aren't you there for the fight in Vegas
right now?
It's a fight week. Yeah, come on.
No. We'll settle it. We'll set it the old-fashioned way. We'll go to the register, see who got it trademarked first. There's enough room for plenty of blockades, I'm sure.
We're not legal. We're an AI company. So
there you go. We're just playing nice in our own little area.
Daniel, you may be able to help her out. Like she said, she's not legal. I don't know what that even means. Probably sending the censors on YouTube off
We're not
the rails.
In the legal industry. You can't trademark the same name in same industry.
Our lack of viewership has nothing to do with the entertainment value. It has to do with all the controversial words and terms and things that we say.
Yeah. And not being legal.
So we may need your legal guidance or some kind of disclaimer about not financial advice. Do your own research. All that.
We are legal.
That's always a good place to start. Don't listen to this because you can't rely on anything we say.
Fair enough.
Really, just entertainment value.
Right.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
No problem. There's enough blockades out there to take care of everybody in the crypto space. So some of our clients at Blockade are trying to decentralize, and there's a Swiss company called Node Governance that I'm their U.S. advisor, and Node Governance is they do technology licensing, and they do decentralization support. Is really what Node Governance does. Okay. And so this is my third June spent in Switzerland working with Node Governance. No better place to be in June than Switzerland. It's gorgeous. Highly recommend it for the weather, the geography, the people, and the crypto regulations. It's very friendly. Node Governance.
You mean you have some?
Yeah. So they actually have like real rules specific to crypto that you can follow. You can look at the black and white rules. They've got a securities regulator, a financial services regulator called FINMA, who works wonderfully with the attorneys around here, answering questions, sending letters back and forth, getting nice, clear guidance. It's a different world that you didn't.
Did they practice regulation by enforcement to get there, or what was the path?
They didn't even have to sue everybody into oblivion to get there. It's crazy. It's an example that other countries, such as ours, can follow. And if they don't follow, of course, the companies that are in the U.S. will continue to migrate out. And we'll see if the American electorate has something to say about that in November. But anyway, that's why I'm here in Switzerland, working with this wonderful company, Node Governance. I'll just say, back on blockade, I got a lot of flack when we named blockade. Like, why are you like blocking people out? You want to be welcoming people in. And then Node Governance came along, and we called Node Governance no-go, which of course is the marketing people are losing their minds. Like I have no idea what I'm doing.
That's a no-go.
Yeah.
Daniel, call me next time. I'll help you out, bud. I'm pretty good with that.
It goes very well with blockade. I tell you what, they go very well together.
This is no-go at blockade.
Well,
so we were actually originally Blockade Games. So you think like it was a game studio, so like arcade, blockade, blockchain games.
That makes a lot of sense.
They bought an AI company. We merged together and became Blockade Labs, and now we build AI tools. So yeah, it was. But believe it or not, that crypto, now that we're kind of out of crypto, we found that if we entertained a coin or had anything to do with crypto and tried to talk to some of these bigger companies, it's an automatic shot down, right? Really? And I think it just goes back to your what you're saying about regulation. Who wants to risk
the risk averse?
Even the guys trying to do it on the up and up are getting slammed, and I think we're grateful in Texas that Governor Abbott tries to have such favorable, rules for us. But at the end of the day, you still have to fight the federal government because you have two kings to answer to, right? So,
right.
Let's go there, Daniel. We've got a lot of pending litigation out there right now. So what are you seeing as the most impactful, influential decisions that are in front of the court today?
Here's the headline that I would give the kind folks out there is that we're starting to get to the end of phase one, which is all of the district court litigation. This has been a years-long phase of the regulation by enforcement. But I'm very excited for phase two, which is when the circuit courts, the courts of appeal get to have their say. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of reality. So I don't want to deny what has happened in phase one. The reality is the SEC has won phase one. That doesn't mean they've won every case. That doesn't mean they haven't gotten some black eyes along the way. But on the whole, they have won phase one in the district court levels. But that is not the end of the road. And we in the crypto legal community expect there to be a phase three at the Supreme Court as well. Yeah. Because once you get up to the circuit courts, unless they all agree one way or the other, if there's a circuit split and it's on a pretty important question, then I think the Supreme Court is likely to take one of these cases. So anyway, I'm excited for phase two to see how the SEC arguments fare with the courts of appeal. That's really where we are now.
Yeah, I will say,
phase one seems like it's taken 4 years. How many more years is phase two going to take? I know you don't know, but
4.
Man, the time.
5. It moves slower.
Yeah. Oh, I would say that phase one has been more like 6 or 7 years. The first few cases were almost a decade ago now, but really in terms of putting regulation by enforcement as a strategy out there. I mean, because the Ripple case was filed in 2020, December 2020, and there was plenty of action before the Ripple case. I mean, the SEC built up to suing Ripple.
And yeah, and that was kind of I mean, not even kind of, it was a changing of the guard moment.
Yes.
Do you feel like a changing of the guard moment helps or hurts us as we look ahead to November?
November will have an impact on this SEC strategy one way or another. There's no way it can't. So we met at an event for John Deaton,
Right.
who's running for Senate in Massachusetts against Elizabeth Warren. If he were to knock her off, it almost, of course, it matters what happens on the presidential level, but that would be enough to make waves at the SEC. The SEC just had to shut down their Salt Lake City office because of their actions in a crypto case last year. The SEC attorneys went in and lied to a district court judge about what was going on with a crypto company. They were caught. They were sanctioned. The case was dismissed. And so many people left the office that the SEC closed it down.
Jeez.
Well, I'm sure they resigned and now are doing quite well in the private sector. I mean, right?
You would think they would be radioactive, but
I
you
would,
never
I would hire
know.
those guys.
Yeah, you really
Oh.
never.
Yeah, I'll say this too. Like, I feel like our legal system has been, like at the lower level, it's been shaken. There's not a lot of trust. But I feel like the appellate courts have had much better like intuition as far as what the law really and how it should be applied. So like you were saying, looking forward to phase 2, like I would too, because I think that there's just so much corruption at the bottom level. And I hate to say it, it's on both sides. It's not one side or the others. The entire system is just so corrupt that, it's nice to know that the higher courts seem to have our best interest at heart, and the corruption hasn't gotten to that point yet.
The appellate courts certainly take a different approach to ruling on these cases. District court judges have I'm sympathetic. They have a huge case load.
Yeah.
And they haven't seen a lot of crypto cases.
Yeah.
This is not like, another one of these, where I can just, what did I do last time when I got this kind of case?
Yeah.
These are things they've never heard. Do you want me to blow your mind real quick? I'm involved with a case in Utah. This is an SEC enforcement action against a crypto company. The case was brought in Utah last year. The judge we were assigned was the oldest living federal court judge at the time, 96 years old. He passed away in November. We have a new judge now. At the time, he was older than the SEC itself. That's how old this judge was.
He helped write the Howey test.
He's been there from the beginning, and
wow.
We had oral argument in front of him. I can assure you, he did not know the first thing about blockchain or crypto. And how would he? How would he possibly? Yeah. And oh my goodness. I mean, you have much younger judges who haven't faced any cases like this, and it's difficult questions. Our whole position in the crypto legal community is we need some crypto specific laws and regulations, because this technology is innovative and it's not analogous to things we've had before. So we need some crypto specific rules and laws. And what are we going to do if we keep having judges who say, got this crypto case? Well, I've got, these securities laws from the 30s. I've got the Howey test from the 40s, and that's all I've got. So how do I fit this square peg in this round hole?
Oh my God, I was
I'm
just thinking
sympathetic.
that. I literally was just thinking that saying in my head. Sorry, you said it.
Yeah. It's perfectly apt. It's perfectly apt. And meanwhile, the SEC walks around saying, "No, we don't need
Everything's
we don't need
fine.
to update anything. It's just fine. You know exactly what you need to do." And everybody's saying, "No, we don't. We don't."
I've heard other lawyers say too that they lost cases just because like the judge. I mean, when you're trying to decide something, and sometimes at the protocol level is how low it goes, so that terminology becomes extremely important in understanding what's proof of work versus proof of stake. But and you get in there and they're like, I don't know what. All right, denied. Like what? Like I'm
Sure,
going for the state. Obviously,
absolutely,
they know what's going on, and I don't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's I'm speechless, right? I mean, it's how can you expect a judge to understand this stuff on a level deep enough to be able to actually apply the law fairly? And if there were crypto specific rules, I would give them a much better shot of doing it. But right now, I don't know how they can do it.
What do you think stops them from just adopting what Switzerland's doing? Like, is it the fear of losing control? I mean, because I think there's a fair case to say that we're already off the petrodollar, so world currency isn't looking too good at the moment. So is it like, what's the hesitation?
It's not up to the judges, right? It's up to Congress that they've got to take the step. They've got to take the first step.
Slow. Yeah.
And yeah, the Congress is never going to lead, right? They've got first there's innovation in the private sector, and then Congress studies it, and then they find what's the path of least resistance that can get a majority in both houses, and that the president will sign. And that takes a while. It takes multiple Congresses, right? Because you have to have a record of legislators voting on some bills that don't pass, so that you change the mix of legislators enough that they find, hey, we actually need to vote on this. The crypto space is raising money, spending money in the elections. That'll talk to them. Money talks.
Yep.
If they think this is going to be important. The best thing crypto has going for it is right now it's not a hyper partisan issue. There are plenty of people on both sides who support crypto innovation and are dismayed at what they see at the SEC. By the same token, there's actually people on both sides who are kind of anti-crypto. It's actually more of a generational thing than it is a partisan thing.
Yeah.
I
All
think
right, quick poll. Trump
news.
Biden debate tonight. This is going to air after that. Will either of them or both of them bring up crypto? Daniel. Quick answer. Deanna?
I
doubt
CNN
it.
decides the questions, right? I don't think the candidates decide the question, unless Trump brings it up in a way of like, "You're so old, you wouldn't even understand what crypto is." Like maybe he's
Or
got
you
a
don't know
little,
what Bitcoin,
like an XRP joke hiding there or something.
So you don't
but
think it'll be an interview
I
question?
don't know that it's that big of an issue.
I'd be
to the rest of the
shocked
world.
if Tapper. No,
Fair enough.
I would be shocked. Yeah, the only way it happens is if Trump decides to throw a shot at Biden.
All right, keep rolling. The video records locally. Deanna's feed in Vegas may have dropped out using a lot of bandwidth to get this put into place. I'm sure she'll be right back.
Right.
Here's a hypothetical that I have not seen on any. I watch a lot of content, work with Deanna, create content. So here's the hypothetical that I'm going to throw your way. You've been in this space for a little while. It may seem like eerily similar to something that's going on right now, but that would be purely coincidental from where I'm sitting. So let's say you have a not legal advice. I know. Can you even say that? Like I always say, not financial advice. Can you say that as an attorney? Not legal advice, or do your own research?
Of course,
Okay.
No one should construe anything I'm saying as legal advice. I'm not your attorney.
Yeah, there you go. Not yet. So let's say that a company has a lawsuit pending with the SEC, and now they're going to issue a stable coin. Are they not? And there's always the saying of "don't fight the Fed," and they recognize that they tied up your company for a couple of years in this process. But you're like, no, all that's going to eventually work its way out. Appellate courts, who knows how far, how long, how high. But in the interim, what I'm going to do in an undefined space is introduce a stable coin. Is that not putting yourself at considerable risk for regulation by enforcement? I mean, how would you guide a company through something like that?
It's a good question. So if the company is in litigation with the SEC over a traditional non-stable coin token,
Yeah.
then I would view a pivot to a stable coin issuance as a step in a much safer direction.
Would you want the regulation established? I mean, I know there's different things pending. Like, is that all going to happen because the regulation gets passed and then we issue the coin? Or do you feel like, issue the coin, we'll figure it out as we go?
Oh, I would be very comfortable with a client issuing a stable coin without additional guidance from Congress.
Okay.
On a token side, I deal with these kinds of clients, and they're doing that. And look, we don't have a full menu of options here. It's kind of binary, right? To your point is, do you issue it now as safely as you possibly can with good attorneys, hopefully advising you
Payne,
the best way to mitigate your risk, and try to build your business despite the uncertainty in the U.S., or do you wait until it's crystal clear? Well, if those are your two options, and those kind of are your two options, then I'm pretty sure if you choose option B, you are going to lose out, because by the time things are crystal clear, there will be market dominant companies that you cannot disrupt. You will have lost the race. Yeah. And that's what all my clients say. I can't afford, you're telling me how risky it is to issue this token. I can't afford to wait until it's not risky. So I got to take the risk. It's painful calculus.
You're seeing
it's first mover advantage in a big way. Yeah. But once clarity is provided, second mover is going to move in, and then the price pressure is going to be put in place.
Sure. There is always first mover advantage. However, as we've seen, sometimes the first movers are the first ones that the SEC sees and sues. So
if you want to talk about it, you can, or we can move on. But library case, I think that was one of the more quietly damaging cases to come from the SEC. Did you follow?
Yeah, absolutely. I followed library very closely. If you want to know how damaging that one was, go read Commissioner Peirce's comment on it.
Dissenting opinion, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
Because she laid out just how awful that was. I could not say it any better. So I point you to her. What she said,
put that in the show notes. That'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What she said was, how could we've been telling the crypto community how terrible it is to raise a bunch of money with unregistered securities on the promise of building a platform and future utility. And we've been telling them, why don't you guys raise your own money, build out a platform and then introduce a token with real utility on it? And here we have that example, someone who listened to us and did that, and we've shut them down. And she said, it's just, that's how sad that case is. It goes to show that this painful calculus we're talking about is there's almost nowhere to hide, right? I mean, you look for the tea leaves and the guidance and the court rulings and what the SEC has said, and they contradict themselves, and you try to reconcile it, and you say, okay, well, if we stack things up just this right, maybe they'll let us. There's almost nowhere to hide. Now, if you register your tokens as securities, you can hide, I guess, inside the SEC. But then, and this is the problem, then your tokens aren't going to work like anybody else's tokens, because they're subject to all of the regulations around trading of securities. So I don't know where you hide outside the SEC.
Yeah.
Isn't there the one Prometheus, the registered security agent for that trading. I mean, we're not even going to go there. We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go to a brighter spot. We're going to go to a place where, not to create your future competition, but as I mentioned to you when we were talking in Austin, I have a nephew who's in law school, and not that he's interested in the least. I'm not going to be that uncle. I mean, I was the uncle one Thanksgiving where we talked about Bitcoin, but I'm not going to talk about his law career. So not specifically to him. Let's zoom out and say to all students in law school who might be considering a career down this path, you've been doing this for a while. One of the things you said off camera, which I think is sage advice, it isn't like showing up. It's like showing up. In other words, you can't just say that you know this about that. You've got to participate. And the fact that I saw you at Consensus, engaging with all the people, understanding all the platforms, understanding the coins, it's kind of a little bit deeper dive right now. Like participate, don't talk about it, be involved. And you're very involved. And that's what's awesome about what you do and how you work with your clients. I mean, you're in Switzerland right now working for your client. But if you were a younger law student right now, what would you tell somebody given the trajectory? Did you come up before or after the internet? Did you see all that play out? As a lawyer, where were you with the internet and legal?
Right. So I can tell you, this is I'll give you my age in terms of technology.
All right.
And in college, I had a laptop, but I did not bring it to class. That was not a thing.
Okay.
In law school,
I
had a laptop and I brought it to every class. So that was how I came up.
Yeah. Okay.
And now, of course, I'm an old man, and the people in law school now don't just have their laptops in class; they've got AI taking the notes and
translating the notes. Yeah, for sure.
Back there like that, I don't even know what they're learning. So enough. I know exactly what I would say, not necessarily to your nephew, but to people in law school, or maybe you're in college, maybe you're just kind of a consultant or doing something else, and you're wondering what this opportunity is about. I know exactly what I would say because I was recently at a law school invited to come give this talk. That was a hour-long session because they had a lot of questions, which I was thrilled with. And probably like that Thanksgiving where you were talking to him, if you bring up Bitcoin at a family event, you're going to get a lot of questions if you don't get thrown out of the house first.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what I would say. I would say when I was in law school, I graduated law school in 2009, and shortly thereafter we had Bitcoin. But we didn't have blockchain or Bitcoin during my 3 years. So I can assure you I was not being prepared for this job specifically when I was in law school. So everybody in law school right now, or the young associates, have a leg up because it's still very early days here. It's time you can position yourself to be an expert crypto attorney for the next 40 years. And there's very little first mover advantage so far, because this is the key thing. The demand for expert crypto legal advice is going to continue to outstrip the supply of expert crypto attorneys for a long time. So in many other practice areas, there's an equilibrium, right?
Yeah.
Litigators and litigation, real estate and real estate transactions. But there is a gross imbalance right now in the demand and the supply. And that's where these attorneys should come in. And so I tell
economies of scale. It's unreal. Yeah.
Another advantage here, and this is what you were getting at, what we talked about off camera.
Yeah.
In the traditional securities practice or corporate practice, big high stakes litigation, the big law, the big firms have an institutional advantage, and they gobble up all the best clients, all the best work, and they have the highest rates. And it's very hard for small boutique firms to compete. There is no such thing as what I just said in the crypto space.
Yeah, I love it.
The crypto clients want crypto attorneys who understand crypto. That's what they're looking for, not the brand name on the Wall Street address up in New York of your law firm. They want to know that you're with them and you understand it, and they're not going to have to take billable hours to explain it to you.
Yeah.
So the good news for young attorneys who are thinking about crypto is it's all, you don't have to say, well, if I could only get a job at Skadden or Sullivan and Cromwell, I could break in and have a career here. It's up to you. If you can make yourself an expert in this stuff, and there are ways to do that, you can carve out your own practice, and the supply of clients will be there. The pie is big enough for all of us. So I'm not concerned about competitors or anything. We need more expert attorneys, and I welcome them in.
Yeah, I'm looking at the next generation as an opportune time for helping the space grow. I think I was on a call earlier today. 5% of the world population. You may have a number different than that is currently on crypto. And I remember with the internet, once we went from like 5% to 20%, 20% feels like a huge tipping point because you're well on your way to that 50th percentile. And once you're there, there's, once you get to 20 headed to 50, there's no way back. But as we teeter around this 5% threshold, what do you see as the biggest catalyst worldwide? I think we agree that the election is going to be the most impactful to the United States and its current trajectory. Do you see anything else? I mean, that's a big thing even worldwide, isn't it? Or am I being ethnocentric? Yes. Tell me.
No. I look, I'm here in Switzerland, and I get these questions. I get these questions about what's going on in the U.S. But be assured, they don't care. They're interested, but one way or another, it's moving forward, either with us or without us. But they remain interested because if the U.S. decides to be crypto friendly, then it's the 100-pound gorilla in the room, and the other countries have to deal with the U.S. But if we keep on going like we are, other countries will be perfectly happy to compete with the U.S. on those terms.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the world reserve currency status, because the agreement that we had, the U.S. and the Saudis, to basically establish all transactions for oil in U.S. dollars, it expired literally a few weeks ago. Don't you feel like it would be a catalyst to help maintain somewhat of that semblance by issuing some regulation? Do you think that's why they're pushing the idea that stablecoin legislation will be available by the end of the year? And do you think that it is an end of the year thing, or do you think we're going to tie even that issue up longer and longer and keep kicking that can?
I'm very confident we will get crypto legislation in the next Congress. I think we're that's sworn in January 2025. I'm confident. I'm confident about that. I could, of course, be off.
No, who knows? I don't know. You don't know. I know that. Yeah, no.
Right, but I think it is absolutely coming. And yes, Congress is slowly becoming aware with inflation where it is, with the federal debt where it is, with the dollar's position in global markets where it is. Crypto is the natural place to figure out how the next generation of worldwide economic monetary policy is going to work, because it's going to be impacted by crypto. So I've been reading about how stable coins pegged to the dollar can continue to leverage our influence as the reserve currency of the world, despite what we've done to our precious dollar. And that's very interesting. It would be a good idea to have some regulation around stable coins if we're actually going to rely on that leverage. I'll just point out here, this has to be said in this conversation. What concerns me would be if Congress decided that a central bank digital currency in the U.S. was the answer here. That's very concerning to me from a liberty and privacy perspective.
Be careful what we wish for, right? I mean,
right. Don't push them, because they'll give it to us.
Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. We wanted
I
it, but
think
not
there's
all
already
that.
some states who are trying to ban central bank digital currencies, and I
believe
look.
Texas is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Florida has either done it or looked at it, talked about it. Um, it's great. Love it when states do that and they lead by example. But the federal government has the authority to come in and kind of squash all that if they decide to do something. I don't think we're anywhere close to congressional support for a central bank digital currency, but we weren't anywhere close to support for something like Dodd-Frank until the financial crisis. And then a crisis gets leveraged for some massive piece of legislation like that. So who knows if you had a bad enough legislation and it could be blamed on the crypto or the wrong parties, you could end up with a central bank digital currency. So we need to be on guard that that's not what Congress comes up with as the solution to our problems.
No doubt about that. And as we look at the future, could you see a world? Because I can envision one where the states start to determine some of these aspects. Because when you look at other policy decisions, you're kind of pushing down with marijuana, for example, right? There's some that are legal medicinally, some are legal for recreationally, for lack of a better word. There's other issues that we're not even going to talk about here. That's just one example where the states are kind of making the choices, and even gambling, sports gambling, for example, or gambling in the state altogether, or lotteries, or you know what, like, is cryptocurrency something that can play out that way too, or is that just too wild to think about?
It's speculative.
Is that good for attorneys if it does? Probably.
Generally, that's how we fare very well. But lawyers kind of control the rules of the game, so we kind of control it, so we win no matter what. So but I'll tell you, we're faring pretty well in this uncertain time. Like, hey, you better be careful. You better have a good attorney. But then when there's rules of the road, you need an attorney to make sure you're following these complicated rules. So it's heads I win, tails you lose. That's another thing I'd tell anybody thinking about law school is it's a great place to be when you kind of write the rules for yourself. But look as not as an attorney, but as somebody who cares about the crypto community, and as a token holder myself, my concern is that we have as smooth a path forward to our new blockchain-based economic system without too many bumps in the road, and that requires more certainty. That's the other message for young people is, look, I don't know what's going to happen with the regulations of cryptocurrencies. I don't know which crypto, if any, are going to end up as real money or stores of value or anything. I don't know. I've got a lot of confidence in Bitcoin right now. There's a lot of good cryptos out there, but I don't know what the future holds on them. What I do know is that the blockchain technology is going to be the next decentralized internet that we rely on, and everything is going to migrate there over time.
Oh, it's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
And let me give you this last question. And Kate, you kind of took us there. I'm going to say Caitlin Long. I only know enough to be dangerous. Custodia Bank. It looks like she has hired some of the big dog attorneys. She probably called you first. I mean, we're talking today with Daniel Payne.
I do know Caitlin a little bit.
Yeah, he is
I do not represent Custodia.
All right, he is the unofficial, official, not representative of All Time High, the podcast. Here with Deanna. Deanna, I think I heard your laugh. We're not able to display your camera. Deanna, it's recording locally, so this is going to be published to the cloud, and then it'll all come back together at the end. Daniel, kind of set us up with what you think she's trying to accomplish. She's very knowledgeable. I would almost say like OG in the space.
Oh.
And she's not very pleased with the way the Federal Reserve is approving, disapproving, allowing, not allowing all these arbitrary and capricious decisions at the state level, at the federal level. Like banks have options too. So I'm bringing us all back together. I know the episode's running a little bit long, but this is some intriguing, compelling stuff. Can you put a bow on it?
Yes, this is a great place to end with Caitlin Long, because she is she's a leading light here, and she's doing the good work and the hard work, and she is always going to be the smartest person in the room. So I'm really glad if somebody's out there representing the crypto community, I'm glad we have somebody like Kate Long. Custodia Bank is in a war with the Fed. And it doesn't have to be this way. I don't see any regulatory wars here in Switzerland. I'm not a Swiss attorney. I don't know all the ins and outs, but it's not like this. It doesn't have to be like this. There's no reason that the Fed should not open up to Custodia Bank, which is a fully capitalized and collateralized bank. All their deposits are backed. It's not like the other banks that use the Fed, who have, fractionalized accounting and capital requirements, so that if there's a run on the bank, right, if you only have a fraction of the capital, there's a problem there. Custodia doesn't have that problem, and somehow that's not good enough because they're crypto. And the long and short of it, without getting into the legal merits, which are highly, technical, and you got to go read the briefs to figure that stuff out. But the long and short of it is the Fed is protecting its turf and protecting the turf of the incumbent banks. And good for the Fed. As long as they can do that, I would put my money on the disruptors, that eventually they're going to win out, that the innovation and the liberty side doing things in a better way is going to win out. So I'm glad. I absolutely wish nothing but the best for Kate and for Custodia. They're trailblazers, and they're having to fight this fight now in the appellate courts, like we talked about, and they just filed their appellate brief, and I really hope they get a win.
Daniel, that is a great way to close us out. Innovation and liberty. Daniel
Yes.
Payne is here representing you today.
Right.
Thank you for joining us on All Time High. Another great episode. Daniel, we'll see you next time.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got